Hey there, it's Scott from FamilyWheels.ca with another car review for your growing family. And this week we are checking out the 2018 Jaguar E-Pace. Now, something to get out of the way before we get started here. Despite what you might think from its name, E-Pace, this is not an electric car. No, that would be Jaguar's I-Pace, which makes perfect sense, right? I don't know. Anyway, this is the little brother to Jag's hugely successful F-Pace SUV, and I think it's a pretty good looking little crossover. But how would it work as a daily driver for your growing family? Well, let's find out. Now, Jag launched the E-Pace back in 2017, so it hasn't been on the market that long, and it's a market that's already pretty crowded with some serious contenders, guys like the Mercedes GLA, the BMW X1 and X3, and the Audi Q3. But the Jag has a leg up on those guys right out of the gate for one good reason, and that is that nobody has it yet. Especially here in Vancouver, you can't go to the store to buy a loaf of bread without running into a Beamer or an Audi. And I've only been driving the Jag for a week, but I can't go a day without somebody stopping me to ask what it is, or ask about it, or just comment on how good it looks. And that's the thing, it really is a good looking car. It has a really sharp and sporty look from the back, and from the front and sides it has an almost classic Jaguar look to it. I'd say it's refined and sophisticated like those others it runs with, but it feels just more confident in its looks, almost like it knows the heritage of its namesake and it's proud of it. The E-Pace comes in a couple different trim options, but really only two different drivetrain options. This one that we're in, the P250, has 246 horse and 269 pound-feet of torque from a turbocharged four-cylinder. Now, if you bump up to the P300, it's that same motor, but it has 296 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. And in this model that we've been driving, we've been seeing about 12 liters per 100 kilometers, which works out to about 20 US miles per gallon. Both models come with the 9-speed auto and all-wheel drive as standard, but it's only when you go to the P300 that you start to get access to some of the options you'd expect from a name like Jaguar. I was actually a little surprised to get in and find that even in a base model, we're missing things like heated seats and a sunroof. Now, like I said, you can get those things, but be prepared to pay for them. This guy, the P250, comes in around $46,800. Bump up to the P300 and you're going to need to add about $6,000 to that, and from there you can option this thing up to the hilt with stuff like heads-up display, digital dash, ambient lighting, 360-degree cameras, panoramic sunroof. The list goes on and on. I played around on Jaguar.ca and kitted an E-Pace out the way I'd want it, and it came in around $68,000. Not cheap, but let me tell you, if you think this thing looks good now, just picture it totally blacked out with big rims and red calipers. Now let's talk about the infotainment system. Right out of the gate, I love it. It's clean, it's really easy to navigate, and I found it to be really responsive. I found very little delay in it trying to follow commands, and trying to find the options I needed out of it was just really easy. It's just 4 big buttons, you click the one you want, and you're off to the races. It also looks really high-tech, somehow just more elite than the screens I'm used to seeing. All of the options just work, including the self-park app. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are both available, though it's a $300 option. And Jag also offers their own system called In Control apps. You have to download a separate app to your phone, but like the rest of the system here, I found it worked really well and I actually quite liked it. They also have an app called iGuide, and if all this car tech intimidates you, this is for you. It uses your phone to explain to you how everything works in your E-Pace, and also doubles as a mobile owner's manual. You can also get it with its own Wi-Fi hotspot, and one of the coolest things about the I-Pace is the activity key. Now, this model that we're testing doesn't have it, but essentially what you need to know is it's a wristband that you wear, kind of like a Fitbit, if you're out and about somewhere that you don't want to take your key, like maybe the beach. You lock the keys in the car and use the waterproof wristband to lock and unlock the car, set the alarm, and disable the key that you left inside. All very cool. The rest of the interior is great too. It's clean, it's classy, it's comfortable, the fit and finish are excellent as you would expect, and it's pretty quiet too. It measured in at just 64 decibels at 100 kilometers an hour, and that is with winter tires on it. And I was actually surprised to find out how roomy it is when you get right down to it. Now, it should be said that this is a small car. You should take that into account if you're considering the E-Pace. I don't know if it would be the right vehicle for a large family or people who find extra space essential, but the space that it does have, it makes excellent use of. In our rear-facing car seat test, the E-Pace got 25.5 inches of space from the back of the front seat to the glove box. Not great, I know, but like I said, it's a small car. The legroom in the back, though, was actually pretty decent, with the front seat set right about in the middle. Trunk space was fine, passing our standardized trunk test of a stroller, backpack, diaper bag, 2 bags of groceries, and a soccer ball without any difficulty. And in terms of actual storage capacity, it actually bested its competitors, the Beamer X1, Audi Q3, and even the Range Rover Evoque, with whom it shares many of its pieces. In the E-Pace, you get 577 liters with the rear seats up and 1,234 liters with the 60-40 split seats laying down, though it's worth noting that they don't fold flat, so don't plan on camping out back there. And if you really wanted to, you could tow with the little Jag, but nothing too crazy. It maxes out at 1,800 kilograms. So like I said, for its size, it's surprisingly great and uses its space really well. Now here's where we get to the best part of the E-Pace, the way this thing drives. And to put it simply, it's awesome. When I was a kid, my dad had an old Jaguar, and though I never got to drive it, I remember the way it felt. It was stiff and strong, and I distinctly remember how it felt different than other cars I'd ridden in up till that point. It just had this composure. It was like more present in its place. And here, a generation later, the E-Pace gives me that same feeling, except this time, I get to drive it. It actually achieved something that so many crossovers aim for, but rarely get right. A utility vehicle that actually drives like a sports car. I loved it. Tons of pep, great throttle response, and awesome suspension. Of course, you can switch between 4 different modes to customize all this, but honestly, it's just a really fun car to drive. And this is with the smaller of the 2 available engines. So is the E-Pace the right vehicle for your family? Well, if you don't need a ton of room and you don't mind spending a little extra on gas, and you value things like having a fun car to drive and quality craftsmanship, you may have just found your new ride. Join me next time when I review the 2019 Mazda CX-3. Until then, for FamilyWheels.ca, I'm Scott.